Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cozett Contemplates. I am so excited that the views are growing, the subscribers are growing, and it's just a really interesting channel. This is where I basically think out loud about all things that fascinate me, all things that I like to interview people who I believe are changing the world, who have unique stories. So yeah, it's just a whole lot of fun here on Cozett Contemplates. So I have been hoping to do a Halloween edition, and my hope was to have a paranormal researcher. So I know that that's sort of like, it has its following all of its own, people watching Ghost Adventures and Ghost Nation and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I have a very special, cool guest with me tonight. Her name is Samantha Morden, and she is with Mystique Paranormal Research Society. And Samantha, you said, correct me if I'm wrong, you said you've been doing paranormal research since about 2008, maybe the end of 2007?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. So let me ask you this. What got you into it?
Oh, wow. I started having experiences when I was a kid.
Okay.
That were unexplainable. I had one, without going into the whole story, I had something happen that couldn't be explained any other way. There was no way that I could have had that experience not knowing things. So it's not like it was something that was in my head and then I like imagined it. It was it was something that happened to me when I was 10, and I didn't find out. I didn't understand it until I was 18 is when I found out what it actually had happened to me when I was 10. So,
oh wow.
And then I see things, I hear things. So when I was actually working at Ruby Falls, and they had just had an investigation done, and someone told me that. I'm like, oh wow, really? Who did it? And they're like, well, this group out in Cleveland. So I contacted them immediately that night, and it was like, hey, I really want to join.
Yeah,
so I went through like the interview process and all of that, and I ended up joining their group. And my first investigation was a plantation in Alabama.
Oh wow.
I went with a bunch of people I didn't know to stay at their relative's house to investigate this plantation. So yeah, it was really neat that was my first investigation, was at a plantation.
Yeah.
The Winston plant. I want to say the Winston plantation. It's like near Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. That sounds like an incredible first foray into it.
It was unique. It was definitely unique. It was a joint investigation with some relatives of some of the people that were in the group. So we stayed at one of their relatives' houses, and it was very interesting. And I had watched the shows, and I was I had an idea of what was going to happen. I just didn't realize how much work it actually is. The TV shows just make it look like it's,
yes.
They're there, they're investigating, they leave. 2 seconds later, they've done all their review, and in reality, it's not like, it's fun, but it's not like that.
Exactly. Yeah. You and I have talked before, previously. It is a lot because you guys have to set up your equipment and make sure the house is, how it needs to be or whatever. So, and then the editing process, or where you're looking for the evidence, that can take a long time.
Oh yes, because if you have a 30-minute audio recording to listen to, it's not 30 minutes. If you listen to a 30-minute audio recording in 30 minutes, you didn't do your review right.
Exactly.
The 30 minutes can take 2-3 hours to review.
Yeah.
But that includes the reviewing, the note taking, and then the editing for anything that you're going to clip to bring to a client.
Right. Yeah, that's really cool. So let me ask you this. I know that COVID has really put a wrench in the gears of a lot of businesses and people's passion projects and what have you. So tell me, how has Mystique Paranormal Research Society been? Have you guys been busy? Have you slowed down due to COVID, I'm imagining?
We did one investigation the beginning of the year, and then we did the Chattanooga convention.
Yeah.
Right around the same time. And then COVID happened. So initially, like everybody else, we didn't know what was going on exactly and how it was going to affect us. So I went ahead and shut the group down. And we were shut down for a couple months. I officially reopened us up back in, I think, May. And we had a whole bunch of things that we had to do and that the clients would have to do in order for us to do an investigation. The next month, we did a training investigation. And then things took off again. So I made the very difficult decision to just close the group down until either we have a viable cure or a viable vaccine that's widely available.
Right, right.
You're talking about people's lives.
Yeah, so, exactly.
So having a team come into your house right now is not a good idea.
Yeah.
There's people you can contact us, email, voicemail, whatever, and I can get back with you and give you ideas of things that you can do aside from bringing a group in right now.
Oh, that's great.
It's not,
Yeah. We'll talk more about that, on how people can contact you and some of the tips that you might have a little bit further towards the end of our time here.
Okay.
But I know that people who watch this are going to be like, get to the good stuff, get to the good stuff.
This boring review and how much time it takes. We don't want that.
So I have to ask you, what has been the scariest case, the most unusual case? What are your stories?
Oh gosh, how much time do we have? Because
you just go with it, sister, however long you need.
I will, there's places we pay to go. And we've been to some pretty, interesting places. Like we've been to Waverly Hills. We've been to, we went multiple times to the Stamsville Rectory before it got sold. I've been to Bobby Mackey's, I've been to a lot of places.
Wow. Cool.
And I've had experiences at most of those places. But I will tell you, the scariest case that I've ever been on was a private home.
Okay.
And this was, we Mystique Paranormal started in 2011. So this was exactly we got this case exactly 1 year later in September 2012. And it was through somebody else that we had investigated. So it was a referral. And I'll say this too, the confidentiality agreement we did with the clients, I can't give out information about where it's at or even tell you what state it's in or much about the case from that point of view.
Totally understand.
But I will say it was a total normal looking duplex. It doesn't look like, anybody's scary, stereotypical scary house. Wasn't an old Victorian. Yeah. But it was a family. I have to be careful how I say it. Let me just say that within 2 minutes of going in for the interview, so this wasn't the investigation, this was just the interview. I got punched in the head by something that you can't see. Something punched me in the head and almost fell over. Luckily, there were bunk beds, and I was able to catch myself on the bunk beds. And you can't, if I would have freaked out and ran out of the house, that would not have helped the client.
No, of course.
I was just like, okay, I tripped. Because there were some toys on the floor, so I could just say, I tripped. It was a very intimidating interview, and I don't mean from the family side. So me and the other girls who did the interview, we walked out and we pretty much knew what was going on, or had a good suspicion that it was probably a demonic case. And I'd been places where it was so-calledly demonic, and I had had some interesting experiences, but getting punched in the head by something you can't see.
Yeah.
And we did the investigation 2 nights later because it was what we consider an emergency case. And the evidence proved out exactly what it was that we thought was going on. And this is evidence I can't give out because, again, the confidentiality with the client.
Sure.
We used to have total confidentiality when we started. Now we don't offer that. We have different levels of confidentiality. And I will say, as a side note, we don't give out anyone's information unless you tell us we can. And that's like business stuff. But it was I'll say this. When we went to the family to do the reveal, we didn't do it at their home. We did it at a different location. I've never done that for any other case, but we knew the situation was so dire that something had to be done immediately. So we already contacted the Catholic Church. We had a priest on standby. Wow. And we had also contacted a Native American shaman to do a remote blessing at the same time.
Okay.
So between those two things, they were able to get it under control. But that was definitely, you just don't think like some plain duplex that you're going to walk in and get punched in the head by something that's not there.
Yes.
You don't think that there's going to be that level. So there's different levels of demonic haunting. The first is invitation, where something is invited in. Either you say, come on into my house, or it could be through a Ouija board, or it could be a whole bunch of other ways that you can do an invitation.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second is manifestation. And that's just where you hear the voices, you hear the sounds, doors are opening. And it's very similar during that stage to a regular haunting, to regular intelligent haunting, except it's usually a little more forceful. So instead of the door the door goes bam. So there's slight differences.
Wow.
It moves from that into oppression. Oppression is when it starts going after the people.
Yeah.
The activity becomes more violent. There can be sexual attacks. There can be the beginning, a lot of depression, suicides, and then the next goes into possession. So at that point, this case was just on the cusp of becoming possession. Like it was right there. So we got in just in time to take care of that. And I stayed in touch with that family for probably 2 years afterwards to make sure that stuff was okay. Stuff wasn't getting worse. So
yeah,
that was the first year. We had this case first year, and it was very, I will go in some pretty creepy places by myself. Yeah. I don't know that I would have walked into this house by myself.
Wow.
I mean, it was, I can't even, I got punched in the head again at the investigation. I got shoved down. Another girl lost time. One girl got scratched. I mean, it was pretty bad.
Goodness. Yeah. It sounds very intense. And so I kind of like one thing that you mentioned there, how it seems to be like demonic presence and its infiltration kind of exists, I guess maybe in a gradient. Would that be like the right way to put it? Like
as far as like how bad it is?
Yeah, like it goes from oppression to possession, so yeah, that's basically what I was referring to. I don't know if gradient's a good word for that or what.
Well, it depends on what you're dealing with, because when we say demonic, it's just easier to say than non-human malicious entity. That's a mouthful. So we say demonic, and everyone just immediately thinks like Christian demons.
Right.
You could be dealing with Christian demons. You could be dealing with Jewish demons. You could be dealing with Islamic demons. You could be dealing with Native American demons.
Exactly.
So there's, and you could have just one, or you could have two, or you could have, a full infestation.
Yeah.
So it depends. And a lot of times where there's places that have what we believe is portals, which is a way in and out.
Yeah.
Things might be there sometimes and not there other times.
Yeah.
So it just depends on when you're there.
Yeah.
And I will say the thing about demonic entities, and again, I'm using that word because it's simpler to say, is that if they don't want to communicate with you, they're not going to communicate with you.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you go into a case with all the signs pointing to that type of case and no way to disprove it, and you get there and you get very little activity, that's almost proof in and of itself. So a lot of times you bring up religion during the investigation. So I will, on every investigation, I will say the Lord's Prayer at some point during the investigation, just to see if there's any kind of reaction.
Right.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if I think it's a demonic case, if I don't think it's a demonic case, I always say it at some point. It's kind of like a litmus test. If I get, punched, I can luckily I've only punched those 2 times, but I've gotten grabbed and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So the punch, luckily, it was just those 2 times.
Yeah.
Did I kind of answer your question, or?
Yeah, it does. And then you even brought out some more things that is of fascination to me. And that is when we talk about demons, the demonic is not relegated to Christian or Jewish demons. You know what I mean? It's truly, so I'm going to share a story, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it goes back to what you're talking about here. So, I had dated a guy from Kurdistan.
Okay.
And he and we decided that we were going to watch like a horror movie. And I told him, I was like, I want to watch something really scary, like about exorcism or something, because I'm really into that. Yeah. And he's like, okay. And then he goes, I actually have a story about exorcism. I was like, really? He said, yeah. He said that when he was a child growing up in Kurdistan, he was just bound by fear, like extreme fear. Like he couldn't walk room to room without just being in total fear, right? And so his mother took him to the village sheikh to pray for him. And so he said that when he went to the sheikh, that the sheikh laid his hand on his head and started reciting prayers. And when he did that, he said he immediately felt that demonic entity come up and out of him. And he was no longer afraid after that.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just really important. You know, I'm a person who is all about having a very expansive worldview. And I think sometimes it's easy for, any people or a culture to kind of not look outside their own experiences to see that, hey, this is a worldwide phenomenon. This happens to people all across the globe every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's amazing. And I'm so glad that we here in Chattanooga have a paranormal research society. I think that's really important. I think it adds legitimacy because I know that you all operate with the utmost integrity on your investigations. I know that you're analytical, and I know that you actually look to disprove or debunk things, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I will say this. MPRS is a scientific group, and there are 3 different types of groups out there. So you have scientific, which is on one end. In scientific group, we rely totally on what we find. So what the instruments tell us, what we find on video, what we find on audio. Then you have the metaphysical, which are your psychics and mediums, who may use a little bit of equipment, but they mainly go on what they feel or what they sense. And then you have groups that try to merge the two. The group I started with tried to merge the two, and there were just a lot of difficulties that group had doing that. And I got to see that for a couple years. So when I started my own group, while I do believe, I see and hear things. Mm-hmm. So while I could fall into the medium category, potentially, I don't do anything to expand that gift. Because to me, I could go in someone's house and I can be like, I know there's an old lady in that back bedroom. But me just telling you there's an old lady in the back, there's no solid proof of it. It's just my word.
Right. So, it's your senses.
Yeah. So if we go with the scientific approach and we find anomalous EMF readings, temperature changes in that back room, and then we get an EVP that's obviously a little old lady talking. Well, okay, we can say that you have a little old lady in your back bedroom.
Yeah.
Which is better to me. It's better to me, which is why I have the scientific group. I don't think there's a wrong way to investigate as long as you're helping people and you're not trespassing.
Right.
But but I prefer the scientific approach personally.
Yeah. And plus that it just adds legit. If you see me looking around, it's because my cats are like, I don't know, they're circling me like sharks.
You got food, Mom?
And I think I need to open this door. Hang on one second. So they can get in. That's where their litter box is. So I definitely don't want to block that off.
Oh, let them in. Let them in.
Yeah, we don't want that. Yeah, so it's really cool. Yeah, so the scientific approach that you all take. And you are gifted. And so can you talk to me a little bit about what it means to be gifted, what your gifts are, how?
Well, I'll say most people in the group that are currently in the group have some level of sensitivity to the paranormal. And like I said, I've never done anything to try to, I don't know what the right word is, develop my gifts, if you want to call them that. But I've seen, I see ghosts. I don't see them everywhere. But I do see them. I do hear them. It is a pretty common occurrence when I'm trying to go to sleep at night that I hear voices or I get poked. Wow. It just,
I wouldn't be able to sleep.
I'm okay. I tell them, you know what? I'm fine. As long as you're not bothering my animals.
Right.
Or hurting, me. It's fine. I don't care if you're here. So,
yeah.
And as long as it's nothing dark.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's talk about that, distinguishing between dark, potentially demonic entities versus a past loved one who had a heart of gold.
Well, I'll kind of back up with that for just a second, because I want to say that, a lot of times families are scared because of the activity that's happening. And a lot of times the spirit is just trying to get your attention. Mm-hmm. So it's not meant like, okay, that purse fell off your dresser and hit you in the leg. So you think, okay, they threw something at me. Okay, let's put yourself in their shoes for a moment. You're walking around. You might not know you're dead. Nobody can hear you. Nobody can see you.
Yes.
I'm going to get pretty frustrated and be like, I'm going to throw this pencil at you because you're ignoring me.
Yeah, exactly.
So some activity that people have that they're scared, it's actually just them trying to get their attention.
Right.
So a lot of what we do is educating people.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah. Because it's stuff that seems scary until you understand it. And then it's like, oh, okay, I get it.
Right.
So there's different. So you have demonic, which is the non-human, which means they were never human. They never walked this earth like us. Malicious, that we call demonic for simplicity. So you have that type of activity. They don't gather energy from the same place. A spirit, so someone like you or I that's passed, needs energy.
Where would they gain energy?
They get it from batteries. It's really common for our batteries to die during investigations. They can take energy from us if we allow it.
Okay.
So you get really weak, almost like you're going to pass out sometimes. They get energy from the air. So when we get cold spots, what that is, or the theory, and I'll say everything in the paranormal is theory because it's hard to prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
Sure.
When it gets cold, it's them taking the energy out of the air, so the heat's coming out and you're getting the cold spot. So there's different ways they can get that energy, but they need energy to do stuff. So for a ghost to throw this pencil, that takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy for them to move an object. Now, if you have a full-on demonic possession or infestation in your house, I mean, a demon can pick up a dresser. So it's not the same. Like, demonic, they get their energy differently. And one thing that feeds them is fear. So the one thing not to do when you're someplace with demonic activity is to show fear. Because that means you're the one that's going to get picked on.
Yeah.
Did I answer the question? Because I feel like I kind of rambled on there.
Yeah, you did. And I think there at the end, what you said, when it comes to demonic presences, the last thing you want to do is be fearful, because that's a good energy source for them.
Yes.
And I think maybe for everyone who's watching this, if you have been dealing or have dealt with demonic dark entities in the past, I think maybe that was a really great tip that Samantha just shared. They want you to be in fear, because the more fearful you are, the more energetic they get to become, and the more havoc they can potentially wreak. So Samantha, let me ask you this. How does a person not be in fear? Like, what are some tips, like yoga, meditation, grounding? What do you think?
Well, the number one thing is education. If you understand what's going on, you know, for most hauntings, that alone can take the fear out. Now, if you're dealing with a true demonic haunting, and let me just also put in there that you can have an evil human intelligent haunting, because
Sure.
You can have Grandma Rose, who's super sweet, and you could have Jeffrey Dahmer, you know.
Yeah.
So you have everything in between. So you can have a true evil intelligent haunting.
Right.
So there is a difference between that, like Jeffrey Dahmer haunting your house, and, you know, a demonic entity.
Right.
So the fear. Sorry, my mind just like totally a train left.
You're good.
So knowledge is number one. Like, knowledge is power. If you understand what's going on, it can be less scary because you understand it.
Right.
You know, demonic entities can get in your head, so they know what scares you. So you have to be aware of that. If you're scared of being dragged out of your bed, chances are you're going to get dragged out of your bed. So, you know, it's probably not going to be like Paranormal Activity where you get dragged down the hallway and up into the attic. At least I hope not. If that's the problem, you need to move. That's my advice. Move. Burn the house down, and just get out.
Yeah.
But knowledge is first. If you have abilities that you're not dealing with, like me, you can do things like meditation, yoga, and those kind of things can center you. And I know I've heard this from almost every medium that I've ever heard or seen, talking to somebody who has gifts. It's like, okay, you need to do something. You need to do meditation. You need to do yoga. You need to do all these different things because it does help. So I've never thought about it in the sense of just a regular person. But I mean, if that's something that calms you down, definitely. But you do things too for your peace of mind. And I don't know if you want to talk about this right now, but there's things you can do if you have a haunting. And those things will help.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So for everybody who's watching, get ready, because there's about to be some awesome knowledge dropped. But Samantha, tell us.
So right now with COVID, it's not a good idea to have a paranormal team in your house. It's just not safe. Because, you know, for you or for them or for your family members. But there are things you can do. The number one thing, and if you've watched any of the TV shows, you would have heard this on the Ghost Hunters would say it all the time: make rules. So, and this is if you're dealing with a human, because if you're dealing with an intelligent haunting, most people you can negotiate with, and you can, you know, talk to and be like, okay, this is what I don't want you to do if you're going to stay here. And they'll be like, oh, okay, that's fine. So you want to make your rules. So things like I already said, I don't mind if they're here, but they can't hurt my dogs or my animals. They can't cause any harm to myself or other people who live in the house. So those are my rules. I don't care if you're here. I don't care if I see you. I don't care if you touch me, as long as that stuff's not going on. So for, you know, the average person, they're probably going to say, I don't want to hear or see you when I'm home. Don't bother the kids. Don't bother the animals. And you can stay. Yeah. Because if you don't sense them, then, you know, that's gone. So we tell them, the whole family get together, decide what your rules are going to be. And then, as crazy as it sounds, sit in the room and talk out loud and be like, these are the rules. If you don't follow these rules, I'm going to have you removed from the house. If you follow them, you can stay, you know, perfectly fine. Something else you can do is get a journal. And this is really important if you have a lot of activity going on in your house. write down everything that happens when it happens, as much detail about it as possible, because you can look for trends. So I've talked about intelligent haunting, but there's also residual, which is just like a recording in time. So there's not actually a ghost there. There's nobody you can reason with. It's going to happen, whether you're there or not there.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, you hear footsteps every night at 3 a.m. coming up your stairs. There's never anybody there. Nothing else ever happens. That falls in residual. So keeping that journal, you're going to have an idea, like, okay, the activity always seems to happen around the full moon, you know? Okay, yeah. So you can have an idea. So that way, when it's safe for a team to come in, you can be like, this is the data that I've gathered. So the other thing is smudging with sage or Palo Santo wood. Mm-hmm. And both of those kind of come from a Native American background.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But you can go online and you can find all the information. I have to smudge my house every 3 months. And you know, that's whether you have something negative in the house. If you can do it too if you have a lot of just general negativity in your house, like a lot of people with depression and things like that. Right. If you think you have something demonic, that's helpful with that too. So for me, just really quick, when I do it, I open windows in the house before I start. There's a giant furry thing behind you.
It's my cat.
I thought it was a really big dog, because I didn't realize there was a table there. It's like,
she's actually really tiny.
Well, all I saw was the fur, like right behind your shoulder.
Yep, she likes to steal the show.
Yeah, she had to be part. Yeah. As soon as I open the windows, I'll start at the front door. I go clockwise around the house, and I go every corner, every nut, every nook and cranny. I open cabinets. I smudge in the cabinets, closets, bathrooms. Mirrors can be ways in and out, so I make sure that I smudge a lot around mirrors.
Okay.
I do have a haunted object that I have. It stays in my garage. So occasionally I smudge him. He's a jack in the box.
Wow.
Yeah.
You working on a museum there or what?
No, Jack is the only one, and it's because he asked me to buy him. So
okay.
I bought him home, and I said, you can be here, but you're not coming in the house. So
right.
he's out in the garage and stares at me every time I go out there. So
I couldn't do it.
I mean, Jack in the Box are creepy anyways, right?
Yes, they really are.
Okay, so you got smudging, and you go around the whole house, you smudge, and you have some kind of saying. So I'm essentially Christian, so I say something along the lines of, this house is protected by God and Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You have no permission to be here. Anything negative must leave.
Right.
And then sometimes I'll add, if there's any human spirits, follow the smoke into the light, that kind of thing. But what you say will be specific to you and what you're doing.
Right.
Some information online on how to do that. The other thing you can do, especially if you think it might be something dark, go to whatever your religious preference is, go to your clergy members, reverend, pastor, preacher, whatever, mm-hmm. and just ask them to bless your house. Mm-hmm. And we tell people, well, I can't tell them that people will be like, I can't tell them that I think there's ghosts in my house. You don't have to. All you have to do is go and say, I'd like my home blessed.
Yes.
Give, when they come to do it, give them some kind of donation.
Yeah.
They bless the house. And I brought something negative home. I brought a demonic entity home with me from a case. Mm. So I personally had to do that. I had to contact a Methodist. So I had to contact the reverend for the church. And I mean, he vaguely knew who I was. Knew who my parents were. And I just said, I really, we'd like our house blessed. And he came and he did it, and we gave him a donation. And I never told him why. I didn't say there's a demon in my house. Nothing. So I have personal experience with that. It does work. And obviously depends on how far along in the haunting, a demonic haunting is, on whether just getting the blessing done is going to be enough. I usually say smudge and do the blessing.
Okay.
And keep up the smudging. If it's something truly negative, you might need to smudge every other week for a while. Eventually it's going to get the hint and leave.
Right.
You know?
So I'm sorry, were you finished?
Yeah, yeah. I think
okay.
so.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question. For people who are really new to this, they don't know much about the paranormal research, you know, they're hearing you say smudge the house. First of all, what do you use? You talked about Palo Santo and I think sage bundles.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is it about those two things that are effective in driving out darkness and negativity?
So Palo Santo wood is holy wood for Native American. And I don't know, I'm going to say that I don't know because I don't know if it goes to the specific tribe or not. So I'm kind of generalizing with Native American. It could be a specific tribe, or it might not be. I just don't know. I personally use sage sticks. You can buy them at like Whole Foods. They actually have them there. And I smudge, like I said, I do my house every 3 months, but also whenever I leave an investigation, I smudge because I don't want to bring stuff home with me, especially if there's something negative. So I might not be the best person to explain this, but like I said, I'm more on the scientific side, but I've seen this stuff work, so I do know that it works. Sage, the properties of sage are supposed to get rid of negative energy in general. So like I said, even if you don't have something paranormal going on and you just have a lot of negativity in your home, like a lot of depression and anxiety and, you know, all the stuff that's going on with COVID for a lot of people, smudging can help that just kind of clear the air. Like after I smudge, the house just feels lighter. It just really feels lighter. And I don't know how to explain that scientifically. But I can tell you that it does work. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the Catholic Church uses sage sometimes in some of their rituals. Maybe rituals isn't the right word. In some of their ceremonies or things that they do. Rituals, the little smoke pot that they carry around. I don't know. I know it has a name, but the Palo Santo. I have another girl in the group who uses Palo Santo wood. It's essentially the same thing. They're both there to get rid of negativity. And I'm probably not, I guarantee you I'm not the best person to explain it. I know that it works because I have personal experience. So, and sometimes we use holy water too. I have holy water, take it with me everywhere. I don't take holy water with me everywhere I go. I take holy water with me if I'm going on an investigation that I think might be negative in any way, shape, or form. And then I will holy water the inside of my car. I will holy water myself. So I've brought something nasty home one time. I don't want to do it again. So I probably overdo it a little bit. I smudge the outside of my car. I'm like, you can't attach yourself to my car. But I haven't brought anything negative home, knock on wood, since I started doing all that. So
yeah, for sure. That's a good thing. So talk to me about holy water. Where do you get it? What needs to happen to it to make it holy?
My understanding is it's basically water that's been prayed over. I personally go to a local Catholic church. You go inside the door. It's not far inside the door. And there's a little thing that says holy water dispenser. And I just fill up my bottles and I leave.
Okay.
I've even gone in when there were people there and nobody said anything to me. So it's not, I kind of looked to see like if there was some place to put like a donation, but I didn't see anything. So if you go somewhere and there's something for a donation, put something in because it's just right. But I think some places I've been told like you go in and there's little bottles of it, but the place I go to has, it just looks like a drink dispenser, like that you would have, Gatorade in or something.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I mean, not quite the orange Gatorade thing, but something like that. And you just
something like that.
It just says holy water on it. So
interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. That's right here in Chattanooga, huh?
The one I go to, I want to say it's our sister Perpetual Hope. It's over on Terrace and Moore, I think.
Yeah. That's it. OSPH.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
It's the one that's right there. Like you go in the little side door the chapel is on the right, and then there's like a little there's like a room and then a little alcove past the room, and that's where it is.
Okay, cool. Very good. Well, that's good to know. That's a good resource.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have something negative going on in your house, you know, there is nothing that is going to, well, first I'll say upset, because if you start spraying holy water and you have something truly demonic, it's going to upset it. But ultimately it's going to protect you. So it's a handy to have.
Right. So let's just say you're at an investigation, or maybe you're at a friend's house and not necessarily doing an investigation or whatever, and the need arises for holy water. Okay. And so you use your holy water, you know, to protect you from this negative entity. And because I've heard situations where they get aggravated, and then maybe like they start banging things up in the house or maybe hurting people. So what would your suggestion be in a case like that?
So sometimes when you smudge or use holy, especially smudge, when you smudge, it's important you do it correctly. And when I say correctly, I mean you get everywhere. Mm-hmm. So if you have one of those little creepy doors and you're upstairs and it goes into like a little storage space, you need to get in there and smudge it. You need to smudge the garage. You need to smudge the closets. You need to the bathrooms, the laundry room, everywhere. Because if you have something negative in your house, something demonic, and you leave one area undone, well, it's not going to leave. It's just going to go hide in that one area until you're done. And then it's going to be really pissed off.
Yeah.
And I've seen this with people. And I asked, well, did you do? They're like, well, no, I'm okay. That's why you gave it a place to retreat to.
Yeah.
And in that case, I mean, you can just smudge again immediately. If you're dealing with holy water though, and you are trying to think what would be a good example. So we this was not last year, maybe the year before. We did a case down in Whitfield County. It was a private home, and I went for the interview, just the interview, and walked through the house. Didn't really get much of a feel for anything at the house. Like I heard a voice behind me say, "Get out," which let me just say is the number one thing that ghosts say. It's like you go to Ghost Hunting 101 as a ghost, and they're like, you say, "Help me, get out," or what was it? "I'm right behind you." It's those three that like, and "get out" is definitely number one. So I didn't think much of it. Me and the other investigator got in the car to leave, and it's like I was being choked. Like I couldn't breathe.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I smudged, but I didn't use holy water. So like I literally pulled off the road and just started holy water myself in the car. And I felt that heavy presence probably halfway home. Yeah. Before it like dissipated. So it definitely was agitated by the sage. Yeah. I think. And then the holy water just, I was protected because I had the holy water, but the entity was still kind of lingering, like, I want that opening. And I didn't give it the opening because I didn't show fear. I didn't, that kind of thing. So it goes back to the not showing fear. So if you do something that incites activity, scary activity, just leave the house.
Yeah.
Just be like, all right, well, you have your temperature tantrum. I'm going to go watch a movie. Or don't do that right now. Yeah. Like you're doing it safely. But it is what it is. The holy water is protected, but it can also be used to incite activity. I think it's all about your, what's the word? Your reasons for using it, and your, am I using it to protect myself, or am I using it to piss something off?
Right. Yeah. Because some people do like to provoke.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say that provocation, because you brought it up, I'm going to say provocation is something that any respectable group does not do, with one caveat. So if you're dealing with Grandma Rose, you're not going to walk into their house and be like, look here, old bag, you better talk to me right now or I'm going to kick, that's just disrespectful because somebody has passed away. Yeah. They were somebody's mother, brother, sister, cousin. So think about it. Like, how would you like someone to treat your passed on loved one? Would you like them saying stuff like that to them? It's just inappropriate. Now, for our group, the only time provocation is allowed is if we are at a paid investigation, which means this is some place that you have to pay to go to. Mm-hmm. We think there might be demonic activity. The investigators that participate in it understand the risk. Because if you're going to do provocation with a demonic entity, which is, I think, the only time it is acceptable, because like I said, they will just hang out and not do anything. So sometimes you need to do something to kind of incite. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of risk to that. It could attach to you. You could bring it home. But you never, even if it's demonic in a house, you don't do it in the house because you don't want to make the person's problem worse.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't think about that. Yeah. And I will say that one case I did that. And this was right when we first started. It was a case that I thought was just a normal case. And I think it could have been demonic because of what happened at the investigation. Mm-hmm. And I did do some religious provocation and I left and I got a phone call from the people the next day. They were bit and scratched and had nightmares and it was horrific. And I felt so horrible. And it was like, you know what? Even if I think it's demonic, I'm not gonna, like, I'll do my prayer. Like, I'll do the Lord's Prayer, but I'm not going, we are not going to do that because we're there to help people. We're not there to make it worse.
Yeah.
So and this was when we first started, then it was more about getting the evidence. And now it's just more about helping people more so than the evidence.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it sounds like you guys do so much educating, investigating, determining, discerning what's going on. You just sound like really an amazing resource. So tell me, going forward, I know that we're still in the middle of the COVID pandemic, but going forward, how can people reach out to you? Where can they find you?
So we have a Facebook page. You can get information there. That's just, facebook.com/Mystique Paranormal. We have a website, which is mystiqueparanormal.com. We have Twitter as well and Instagram, but I don't know off the top of my head what they are. But I think we have the links for those on the Facebook page.
Okay.
There's a contact us form on the website. You can use that. Our email is mystiqueparanormal@gmail.com. You can contact us directly that way. Okay. On the website, there's a telephone number. That telephone number goes to a Google voicemail system. Mm-hmm. So nobody will ever answer that phone. It'll just go to the voicemail. But you leave the voicemail and then I will get a email telling me there's a voicemail and it'll play it through my email and then I'll contact you back. And if you need a consultation, you can contact us right now. We're closed insofar as we're not going to do any investigations. But if you have questions about something that's going on in the house, what you should do in more detail, that kind of stuff, you can feel free to email or call or contact us on Facebook, whatever.
Right. So I think that what you guys do is amazing. How can people support you? Do you have like a PayPal or anything like that?
We do. I think we go back and forth between having the PayPal button on the website and not having it on the website because we don't want people to be confused and think that we charge. All of our services are free. We don't charge for anything. We accept donations if somebody wants to give us one, and we're grateful for that, but we don't request it. Everything we do is totally free.
Yeah. And you do it from the heart. You do it because you're good at it. It's, you're gifted for it. From my perspective as an interviewer, knowing that the hours and hours and hours of work that goes into this and how you help families and businesses, because I know you've worked, for some businesses,
Yeah.
Get through a very scary time. I would love to see you guys be supported, because it's definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. So
we go through a lot of batteries, let me tell you that.
yeah, I bet.
Batteries are a major expense.
Yeah.
For any paranormal group. You could ask anybody.
Wow.
Not uncommon to be like, man, I'm out of 9 volts again. I thought I had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we appreciate any donations that are passed our way, but we don't expect them.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you came on. And just
Absolutely.
as we end, I want to kind of plug your little side thing that you've got going that I think is adorable. And that is Mystique Mousery. So tell me just a few minutes about that.
So about, oh God, I don't know, about a year and a half ago or so, I got some mice, and I didn't really know anything about pet mice. I'd gotten a hamster because I had a hamster when I was a kid, and I thought, well, this will be cool. Yeah. Hamster died within 48 hours, just like all my other hamsters that I had when I was a kid. And the people at the pet store were like, why'd you get mice? Like, I've never really thought about it, but okay. And I fell in love. Like, long story short, I fell in love. I ended up with males and females, and the females, again, long story short, I ended up needing more females, and I couldn't find them anywhere. All the pet stores around here, all they had was the little white feeder mice, which are still technically fancy mice. But they're not usually bred well. So you can get a lot of health issues and things like that from them. So
oh, wow.
I looked for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. I couldn't find anywhere to get mice in this area. And I thought, that's just ridiculous. It's like, well, I have males and I have females. So I was like, well, I'll just breed them together and then I'll have more females. And it worked. But the process, I just fell in love. Like, there's nothing like a little baby mouse.
No.
They are so cute.
They are.
So, and I was trying to think of a name for the group, and for the Mousery, and I'm like, you know what? I really like Mystique. I liked it when I chose it for the paranormal group. I still like it. It takes away confusion.
Yeah.
So not only can I help you with your paranormal problems, but I can help provide you with a pet mouse.
There you go.
And totally, I breed for health and temperament. So when you get a mouse from a breeder, you're getting a more tame mouse. So, biting and excessive fear and things like that, I work to breed out so that you get the more friendly, confident mice.
How neat, Samantha. I love that. I see your posts on Facebook. Every time I see those little mice, I literally go, oh.
I do the same thing every time I see them.
They're so adorable, really. And you can tell they're super smart.
Yeah. Oh, they're so entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
They're so entertaining. Like, I can just sit and watch them. And that's just like, what are they doing? I just did that cage. And they're like rearranging everything because they don't like where I put it. So they're like, you'll see them, they'll grab one little piece of bedding, run to the other side of the cage, put it there, then go back, grab another piece of bedding. And it's just,
yeah,
I love it. They're great. They're more active than hamsters. Like, they'll be up during the day. I mean, they are nocturnal, but they'll be up during the day. Boys have to live alone, but girls need to live in groups. So if you have a group of girls, they interact with one another. Males, unfortunately, will murder each other.
Oh, no.
So you can only have one male unless you get him neutered, and then you can put him with your ladies.
Okay.
And there's other options too, but they can't live with other males. That's
And
I'm
going to know that
really quick is that nobody ever wants to adopt males. They always want to adopt the girls. Think about the boys. They are so sweet. I mean, you only have to get one, so you don't have to have as big of a cage. They still need a lot of enrichment, but the boys bond quicker to people than the girls.
Wow.
So if you really want a cute little buddy, it's don't overlook the boys.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so where can you have a page for Mystique Mousery, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Facebook.
Okay.
It's just the
Cool.
same, facebook.com/Mystique Mousery. And
Okay.
then I
And
have an Instagram, which is Mystique Mousery, and Twitter, which is Mystique Mousery. And I think that's it. Wait, no, I have a website, which is mystiquemousery.weebly.com. And that's where like all the available mice that are up for adoption are, photos and the adoption application and the prices and all of that.
very good. Well, that is so cool. Samantha, you are a very interesting person, and I always love talking to you.
Let me ask you before you sign off. I won't bring him in the house, but I will go to the garage and show you the haunted object if you want to see it for your thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. I have to go to the garage because, like I said, I don't bring him in the house.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited and a little bit scared. Thank you for doing this. This is really cool.
Yeah, I just thought like maybe they'd like to see him.
Yeah, for sure.
I call him Jack.
Okay.
He is a 1971 Jack in the Box.
1971.
Oh, there he is. Let me get him down. Hey, Jack. We did bring him to the Conanuga. We had him on our table at Conanuga.
Did he behave?
Well, we put a sign, don't touch him, because, you know, things can attach themselves. This little boy comes up and starts whacking him in the head. We're like, Jack's going to get you. All right. Let me set him down. All righty. Ignore the messy garage.
Oh, it's all good.
Jack, where you at, buddy? There you are.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Oh, girl.
There he is.
He's creepy looking all by himself.
Yes, he is. There's the Jack in the Box.
Cool.
And I will say this is the third haunted Jack in the Box that I've found.
Really?
I don't have the other ones, but one of them, I guess I'll plug for him. Dread Hollow. Yes. They have one of them at the haunt.
Interesting. Wonder what it is about the Jack in the Box that the spirits get attached to.
You know, I really don't know. But we did an investigation at an antique store, and we were doing a specific object investigation. We were investigating objects more than the store. Mm-hmm. And I had joked, I had said, well, you know, I hope there's not a haunted Jack in the Box here. And I walked by this same area like 4 or 5 times, and then I walked back by and he was on a shelf all by himself. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So we investigated him and I asked the question during the investigation of him. I said, do you want one of us to take you home? Immediately it goes, yes, please. Clear EVP.
That is crazy. Yeah.
And I didn't know that until after I bought him, because I woke up the next day just obsessed with this thing. And I knew that was paranormal obsession. But I was like, I couldn't not go buy him. He wanted to be here. So
that is crazy. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Will you come back and do another video with me and show me some of your cool gadgets and tools that you use?
Yeah, I have to dust the dust off them since they've been, sitting around since June. But yeah, I can do that. Okay.
Cool.
Jack, well, you want to say bye to everybody, Jack?
Bye, Jack. Be a good boy.
All right, Jack, I'm going to put you back up on your perch so you can see the whole garage. There you go, buddy. Don't look at me like that, Jack. Yeah, I'll come back. Just let me know when.
Awesome. That sounds good to me. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great Halloween.
You too. Happy and safe Halloween.
Yeah, thanks. Same to you. And we'll talk soon, okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.